Hey everybody, welcome to Writing for Media. Um, Great to see everybody, sort of. We're doing this asynchronous. Glad to have everybody aboard. My name's Tom Davis. I'll be your instructor for the semester. I guess adjunct professor, part-time lecturer, whatever you want to call it. That's what I am. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully by now you've all connected and seen the Canvas site, which is already public and I opened for this course. Um, and what we're going to do is learn about news writing. What we're going to learn about news writing is that it's a different craft than what you've been used to, perhaps. Maybe some of you have done it before, maybe many of you have done it before. I don't know, but like there's different types of sciences, there's different types of writing sciences. One thing I can tell you is that news writing is basically its own form, its own craft. It's going to be different than what you've done before in terms of like writing term papers or what I like to say is the genre of what I did for my summer vacation types of papers. So, it's actually like it's very much what maybe you've been doing on social media for a number of years already. Only just really kind of building on that. When you post a thought on Instagram or post anything, uh, you make an announcement of some sort, you're essentially dispensing the news. But what we try to do in this story, in this class, is actually do that, but build on that and turn it into a story. Okay. And I try to be like patient with everybody. I try to be I mean, I do essentially turn this into some sort of a newsroom, the old-fashioned newsroom. I know everything's remote now, right? But I try to basically maybe everything is fashioned to what a newsroom is like as possible. Okay. Um, sometimes like my comments on remarks are on papers and everything could be maybe a little caustic, and I try to like tone that down, especially over the years. Actually, nearing my 20th anniversary, which will be on January 26th. So, but like to still feel like I have the energy of what I had 20 years ago. So, but at the same time, I try to be as kind, as respectful, and as give people as much leeway as possible in trying to get the work done. Okay. What I care about really is your last product, not your first. Okay. That's very much what, since so many people go into news writing, a lot of them don't even know, and that's okay. Okay. What it even really involves or entails. You maybe have read news all your life, but you're not really sure exactly like what, how to write a story. In fact, I think I was fairly early on in my career. I was like, how do you write a news story? I said to myself, and I'm a Rutgers graduate, and I'm actually a Rutgers journalism graduate. And I actually sat down one day and just kind of dissected a story, I think an Associated Press story, and just said, okay, well, this is how it's structured. And pretty much followed that line ever since. And of course, and actually have incorporated into my teaching. So, um, all right. So what is this class about? So basically, this is actually how we're going to be teaching. Of course, I will have office hours. That's pretty much by appointment. You just reach out to me, let me know when you want to talk. I like to preferably like to talk maybe at night, that sort of thing. Maybe like usually like maybe a Wednesday or Thursday or something like that. I post these lectures once a week. The only exception. I would post them every Monday, but the only exception will be this week because we're starting on Tuesday. So you get this on Tuesday. Um, so anyway, oh, by the way, my dog always like kind of accompanies me. There's my doggy. Hey, Bruiser. Hey, Snuggle. He's a good doggy. And he likes me to scratch him as I go along. So yeah, so how about I just show you around the things here with the Canvas site, and what we'll do is we'll share the screen because the Canvas site really serves as the Blackboard or the platform for you know where I teach from. So and of course there is also a book. Um, Actually, I'm starting with a new book. Not so new anymore, this book actually, but we were doing the 12th edition of this particular book up until this semester. Now we're doing the 13th. So, all right. So, by the way, who am I? I'm Tom Davis. I've actually been writing, actually, I've been a journalist technically since I was 16. I'm not trying to brag here. I had my first job at the newspaper. It's long defunct. It's called the Leader. It was in Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey. That's where I grew up. I grew up in Point Pleasant Borough. Jersey Shore kid. Anyway, so I wrote sports, big sports fan, big Mets fan. I know, crazy. Mets, Giants, Knicks. Okay, and I follow some hockey. I like the Devils. So, anyway, so I've always been interested in that. One of my early disappointments in life was seeing Tom Seaver, the greatest player in Mets history, being traded away, but whatever. Um, so I started there. Um, and then I went on to I started actually really kind of started almost at the ground floor. I started at weeklies, got my first daily job in Delaware. That was an interesting place. Worked for what I call the worst paper in America, the Delaware State News. Up until I went to Columbia for graduate school, I used to call it my graduate school because it was school of hard knocks. Then I worked at the Press of Atlantic City. And then from there, the Bergen Record up in North Jersey. Then I ran New Jersey coverage for Patch.com for 11 years. That was interesting. And that's when I moved into the editor level of things. And then, like I said, I've been at Rutgers since January 26th, 2004. And actually my most current job, but this is my part-time job. My full-time job, actually, I'm editor in chief of this magazine called Best Review. So anyway, it's actually I'm going into the trades now. As we do when you get older, you start to kind of like find like a little bit more of a comfortable place to be. And it's basically I run an insurance magazine. Actually, if you want to take a look, I can show you. Sometimes I do this, I kind of go randomly. Um, and basically just do basically it's actually some of the best journalism I've been involved in since I worked at the Bergen Record newspaper, again, newspaper up in North Jersey, because the patch.com was a lot of clickbait. I don't know if you've heard of it. There's a lot of like news that's like, um, you know, the kind of stuff that just makes you click on this thing right here and you'll see like somebody die or something like that. It's really horrible. But we also kind of built that thing from scratch. Covered, like I said, it's mostly local news we covered. I'm proud of a lot of stuff we've accomplished. This is the magazine I run now. Say it's like kind of like a lot of it's like insurance news stories, but a lot of that stuff is big news. Um, and in general, because you deal with things like, hurricanes and how they do damage to houses and stuff like that. And yes, we have like paid advertisement stuff. That's great. So anyway, but I enjoy the job. Um, so yeah, so that's what I do. All right. So here's the Canvas site. Okay, and like I said, everybody should have. Let me just check to make sure I got it here. Um, just a reminder, by the way, I sent you guys an email last week. And I like to like hear from people. Just that write to me, please. Let me know like that you're alive. And I also like my preferred form of communication, which I'll talk about again, is actually emailing you directly. I don't like using the Canvas email. It's very, I think, user unfriendly. I will if I have to, but um, anyway, my preferred way of doing it, just through the straight email. So please just let me know, like email me and let me know and say hi. Just let me know what emails you like to use. Maybe use more than one. Maybe you don't like to use the Rutgers email, that sort of thing. Okay. All right. All right. So this is the cover page actually of the Canvas site. Um, So this book is available at the Rutgers bookstore. It's also available online, and I have it right here. It's called the Writing and Reporting for the Media, 13th edition. Now, I couldn't really figure out what the hell this thing was actually published. I think it was 2023. I think it's actually earlier than that. It's very up to. There's a lot of talk about like the insurrection and Trump January 6th in this one. This is actually the online version, which it's interesting because now the online's a little bit different. Like obviously you can't click on videos on the on the textbooks and everything, but on the online one you can. So maybe you'd prefer getting the online one. Okay. All right. So this is actually the first chapter, and actually you know, the reading. Just so you know, I am not a big book guy. I do teach with the book and that sort of thing, but kind of use it more as a guide. But I do assign readings. However, this is the big one. I don't test people on the readings, and I know that's weird. I'm not the only one who does this. I just kind of, you're adults. I expect you to read what I assign and, trust you on that. Okay. Um, I always consider the actual writing assignments as the test because I figure that if like you're not like really up to speed on your writing, that sort of thing, and you're not like following through on what we're doing, then A, you're definitely not like following along with the lectures, and B, if you're not following with along the lectures, you're not following with the reading. So if you were doing at least one of those things, you'd be getting these stories right. Okay. And I noticed that like it's interesting because like I've been teaching online. I teach mostly in person, but I teach online courses. I've been teaching at least one semester since the pandemic hit in 2020. And I noticed that I'll say this. I noticed that people were very like kind of like well disciplined initially. I say for the first year or two, maybe 2 years in the online courses, but I feel like it's kind of gotten away from people a little bit. I don't hate to be cynical this way, but I feel like people have not been very disciplined in keeping up with the assignments and keeping up with the lectures in the in the uh in my remote classes here, my synchronous classes. You really need to do that. When I post these lectures, which I post, by the way, I say this in the syllabus and everything. I post actually on the assignment section. Okay. Actually, I'm sorry. This is actually I should show you the student view. Um, I posted in the assignment section, so you should be getting an alert on your phone um, from Canvas on that. I posted in the assignment section. Actually, if you'll see, you won't see anything posted here yet because I'm doing this over the weekend. You will see it soon. I like to do the show by type for that actually. All the reading assignments are posted because I just expect people to do those, and there are due dates on those. But again, I don't test people on those. So so right now you're just going to see the reading assignments, okay? And the new assignment that actually is going to be posted, which like I said, I'll have posted by Tuesday morning. All right, so this is what you're going to see, chapters 1 and 2, okay? But when I teach, I usually like teach out of the student view and the teacher view because then you get to see like what I'm going to be posting very soon. All right, so what you're going to see is actually this assignment right here is going to be posted. Okay. It's actually a not non-graded assignment. Okay. And it's due a week from now. Okay. Well, actually less than a week. I'm sorry. 6 days. Monday, January 22nd. And it's actually not graded. What I like to do is actually I like to post this assignment every semester because I feel like I want to get people an idea before because so many people don't know news writing or don't get into it or don't really like understand it, which is fine. I like to get people I like to give people a little bit of leeway initially to get them kind of like on the right track. So what I do is I ask for this assignment. I expect you to do it. Okay. Okay. It hurts if you don't. But I don't actually give it a letter grade. Okay. So it's almost like a complete or incomplete. That's it. I actually do mark it that way. So what I want you to do is write a short 5 paragraph. This is a little weird. You're going to actually like do a kind of interview yourself. Okay. You write a short 5 paragraph profile on yourself in the third person. Third person, by the way, is he, she, it. It's this news is it's supposed to be very subjective. You're supposed to kind of distance yourself from yourself. Okay. So you're supposed to be a fly in the wall and cover things as objectively as possible. And if you just insert yourself into a story, then you're not being really that objective. I realize there are what they call first person stories where you write I, me, that sort of thing about yourself, but we're not doing that here. Okay. We're just learning the very basic way of doing this. Okay, first. It's actually very hard to write a first person story. Okay, a story in first person voice. You're gonna write in he, she, it. You're gonna write actually a story about yourself. Just 5 paragraphs. That's it. Usually, Jerusalem stories. The paragraphs are no more than a sentence or two, by the way, which I'll get into. Um, they're very short and they're very supposed to almost resemble like what a conversation would be like. Like you give it a little bit of information here, you pause, you give a little information there, you pause. If you ramble, nobody listens to you. News story is set up like very small paragraphs, one paragraph here, one paragraph here. You'll see that like actually like in places like the Washington Post. Um, they don't have like a lot of new news in here, but let's just, sometimes sports writing actually is like sometimes actually the best writing, but it's not coming up. I don't know why. Anyway, playoff game between Pittsburgh Steelers and Buffalo Bills postponed. That's the big news. See how there's like spaces in between the paragraphs, or this paragraph's only like one sentence. The NFL, in consultation with New York Governor Kathy Hochul, has postponed the Buffalo Bills playoff game until Monday because of the potential for hazardous weather in the Buffalo area. Game is now scheduled, blah, blah, blah. The Bills are hosting. I'll give you a little more information to follow up. The main news is right here. News stories are very much like almost like an upside down story. The mystery is resolved in the first paragraph, unlike in a mystery story where it's in the last page. Okay. And then what happens is the rest of the story kind of deconstructs how we got there. How it was announced, what decisions were made, what the weather report was, that sort of thing. Okay. By the time you see this, we'll you'll we'll know what the score is, I assume. Um, so yeah, so that's basically how a news story is. So when you write a story about yourself, I want you to write a story basically about what makes you unique. News is the plural of new. That's the word is. That's how it came about. So what you want to do is you want to actually write about what's new and unique about yourself. What something that maybe not everybody would know. Something that separates you from everybody else. Okay. I realize, it may be hard. You may think I'm boring, that sort of thing. No, there's always a little bit of something. And maybe it's something along the lines of, I mean, what I don't want to see is like, I work really hard. Well, you can say that about anybody, right? Or I'm really lazy. Again, you can say that about anybody. Or I should say in third person. Davis says he's really lazy. Okay. What you want to do is you want to write in a way like maybe you hold a lot of maybe you have to hold like one or two different jobs to get yourself through school. It isn't maybe not necessarily the most unique thing in the world, but it is unique because you are going to college and you're struggling to go through and you're paying a lot of tuition and something that's relatable because there are people who are going through it too. But it's something that trying to work your way through school. Not everybody's able to do that or can do it or is successful at it, trying to like raise money, that sort of thing, get themselves through school. So anyway, that's what I like to see from this story. Okay, so you file it here. All stories will be filed as Microsoft Word docs. Please remember that. I every time I say that every semester, not everybody does it. I get like I get the other stuff that like comes in like I don't know. I get like PDFs. Please, I can't not a PDF. Okay, please don't send a PDF. Okay, please, pretty please. Okay, I know I'm gonna get PDFs, but anyway, I can't. What I do is I actually grade the paper and provide comments on Microsoft Word through track changes. Okay, so which is done in red. Okay, so please, just a Microsoft Word doc. It's accessible anywhere. If you don't have Microsoft Word, then just email it to yourself or something, and then print or they have it at the computers at Rutgers and just do it there. Okay, all right, and then what you do is you submit it here. Okay. All right. So again, let's go through what we got here. I have announcements. So I post the assignments under here actually. So I wanted to show you the whole thing here. The assignments will be listed here. First of all, the written assignments will be here at the top. Okay. Now this is like some of the stuff I've already got like posted and everything from previous semesters and stuff like that. I don't pay attention to that. These are old lectures, but the new lectures will be posted here. You'll see it in the student view. Okay. Um, you know, and like I said, they'll be posted there. Now, again, all these reading ones, you'll see that it's a different shade of color. All these reading assignments are posted already. Okay, so but just follow along 1, 2, and then 7, 9, 13, blah blah blah. I like to say that actually the first half of the semester is where we really learn how to write. And one thing you'll hear if you actually ever stay in this field, are you a better writer or a reporter? It's actually like probably the better answer to the question is actually a reporter, because editors feel that they can shape writers. I mean reporters because they actually but they get the information, they dig up the stuff. If they're a writer, that's great, a great writer, but are you actually getting the substance? And this is very much a substance over style craft. Okay, so So what you want to do is you want to actually make sure that actually you're getting all the information you need. What I like to say is the who, what, where, how, why, and when. Okay. The who, what, where, how, why, and when is actually how it's actually how we do it. Let me actually just call something up here. This is actually the syllabus. I actually meant to call up a new document. Okay, so every story again, like they call it like the 5 or 6 W's, even though there's a how involved. Who, what, where, how, why, when. Okay. So I actually have about a 10-year-old computer right here. So let's see here. So let me just get this in the hype. Okay, so this is like my blackboard. Who, what, where, why, and when, and how. I would like to say that actually, like, there is actually an order of importance here, and the what and usually like the why or the how are usually the most important things to answer. What happened? What is this story about? Is usually the first question you need to answer in the lead. Okay. What is this story about? If you're struggling, think to yourself, what is this story about? Okay. And the next question is, why should I care? And usually, like, the answer to that question is, well, why is it unique? What makes it unique from every other story? Now, a lot of stories obviously are similar. There's a car crash, car crash stories are very much similar, that sort of thing. But what you want to do is you want to try to find more information about like what makes this one particularly unique. Where did it happen? Did it happen on a turnpike? If it happened on a turnpike, New Jersey Turnpike, then it probably could cause like traffic problems and hold up traffic forever and that sort of thing. So that makes it like more unique than happening on the street in New Brunswick or something. So that's the goal that you want to like keep in mind all the time. Okay. All right. So that's how the assignment. So I post the lectures here. I also post them under announcements, and then I send them through email. And like I said, I would like to see your email so I can have that all together. So please email me. Okay. Let me just jump over this for a sec. I have a syllabus. It's posted here. Grades, I post those, okay. But I also put them on the actual assignment that I hand back, okay. And then just about every assignment gets a rewrite. The last assignment does not. I'll talk about that, but anyway, the every assignment you actually I asked for like a first draft essentially. Your first assignment is actually your first draft. But that's not the best way to learn is not necessarily me blathering on a videotape, is actually having you actually like read my comments and then redo it. And you learn by doing. Okay. That's actually really the kind of the basis of the foundation of this class, to learn by doing. Okay. So we'll be talking about that. But what I do is I give out actually like on the very first draft, I give out A's, B pluses, B's, C pluses, C's. I don't give out a D or an F. I give out an R. So that means you actually have to rewrite it. Okay. But if you don't rewrite it, you get an F. Okay. If you got an R. All right. Um, Anybody who gets like a C or above can, well, except for an A, of course, can also rewrite it for a higher grade. And in this particular class, where class participation is like hard to do because there's no class room, I actually look at that sort of thing. If you have like a B plus and you're not rewriting it, then I actually tend to actually give you a little bit of a lower class participation grade, because I feel like that's something you should be doing, is you should be like shooting for the highest possible grade. Okay. You shouldn't just let that go. If you didn't get an R, you should still rewrite. You don't have to, but you should still. Okay. I have discussion points that people participate in. I actually use for like stories. I expect people to participate in those. That's actually, again, people will say to me like, "How do you have class participation in the remote class?" Well, that actually these discussion points are one of them. And actually, sometimes, like I said, when we think of a subject for a story, I need people to react to like a certain subject so we can have information for a story. So I do. So that discussion points are for that. It helps people report their stories. Okay. The modules. Okay. The modules basically, they actually provide a guide for like what's in the course as we go through the different weeks. I'm not always exact in like, in how I do things there, but you can see what the very first stuff is like writing basics. By the way, you also need to get the AP style book on top of the textbook. Okay, so AP style is actually like a book that actually is almost like a dictionary. It basically tells you how to basically essentially phrase things, how to like put things like for instance, like does a state get abbreviated? Journalism is very much like it can be very creative, and I don't want to disappoint people in that regard, but it can be very creative and it's very good in that in a lot of ways, but it's much more creative in the way people actually like collect their information than how they write it. Okay, so there's actually like a certain commonality to journalism that's very important because it's what people say is that it's actually written at a fourth grade level. Okay, and that may sound like demeaning in itself, but actually, that actually makes sense because you want everybody to understand it. You want this is pop art. This is the most popular form of literary there is. Okay, this is how people all get their information most of the time. Okay, so think whether it's social media, traditional media, whatever. So what they do is they you know what's my train of thought, so anyway, it should be written in a way that like everybody understands, whether it's, it should be written in different languages, right? But it should be written in a very kind of simplistic way. There's very much a way, as I showed you with those paragraphs being small, that's like a very simplistic style of actually like producing news, is having like these shorter paragraphs. But the sentences themselves also should be written in a very kind of simple way, very direct, noun, verb, essentially active voice. Okay, noun, verb, noun is ahead of the verb in the sentence. Very simplistic way, and it's actually almost like puzzle piece making. Okay, in a lot of ways, that's the easiest thing to do. You could argue it's dumbing down, but it's not hard. It's not easy to do that. And what you have to think is, why do you do that? Why is it fourth grade? Because think about like, one of the first assignments you had, like when you were in fourth grade, was probably a current event project. Well, you have to like you really know how to do news, learn how to read it and that sort of thing in order to do that. So I have three kids myself, so we've been through that. I know what that's like. So yeah, so that's why we write at that level so that even kids can understand. Okay. And then we go into like writing media ethics, how that's the play involved. Then we start in the structure. There's actually a certain structure, a formula, as I talked about, where the most important stuff is usually at the top of the story and the least important is at the bottom, and we'll get into that. Then you see PR writing, data journals, and that's when we get more into the reporting end of things and how to dig up information, that sort of thing. So if you click on each of these subjects, you actually will see a little bit of a description. Okay. What we're going to be talking about this week. This is this week. Course introduction, of course. During the first class, we'll start by introducing ourselves, outline course, syllabus, etc. Corny little picture. Now this is where I keep my rubric. I don't keep it typically where it typically is, but my rubric, just like the writing I'm asking you guys to do, is very simplistic. Okay. Um, all right. And I have like, I don't really want to talk too much about like how I go for grades at this point because I'm not grading you yet. But basically something like AP plus B is like something that's publishable, something that could go into maybe the Targum like right away or something. Okay. But anyway, that's basically then like I said, DFR, something that's maybe not publishable or clearly understandable, that sort of thing. It lacks focus, that sort of thing. We'll probably be getting more to that, like maybe once you actually get your grades, okay? But this is actually like essentially it's under the week one, how C plus is probably something when I say understandable, don't take that the wrong way. I can understand what the story is about and and the path it's following. But usually at the C level it's probably a little bit more disorganized and it requires like more editing effort on my part in terms of like developing clarity and focus. If it's like D, F, or an R, essentially, it's something where I maybe really don't understand what you're writing about, or I feel like, especially like the lead, I should understand from the lead going on, like what the story is about. Okay. Because the lead is the most important paragraph of the story, and it's basically a lot of people don't even read the whole story. They read the first paragraph and they leave. It's actually like a typical. That's why like Twitter or whatever it's called now, X is like so important to a lot of people because essentially it's providing that first paragraph to a story. Okay. Um, how I break things down in terms of grading. Okay, first assignment. I usually give out 7 assignments. The last one's the major one. That's going to be due on the 29th, okay, which is I guess the day before the last day of classes. No, 29th of April, I'm sorry. I know it's that early. So what I do is I actually like I'll explain what all this means. Okay, so the first 5 assignments essentially count like one time. Okay, and then what I do is I grade on progress because I feel like people like develop this skill over time because a lot of them a lot of people start from scratch. So by the 6th assignment, I expect you to actually know your stuff. Okay, so that one counts twice as much as each than one of these. Okay, one of the first 5. And the last one counts 4 times as much. Okay. So the last 2 assignments count more than the earlier ones, essentially. This one especially. Okay. So how does that break down? Well, 30% of your grade, your overall grade is class participation, participating in discussion points, asking questions, being involved, that sort of thing. I like when people ask questions and even want like, office hours, stuff like that. It shows me you're trying. Okay. Especially people might be like struggling. Um, same way, and then of course, like I said, discussion points, that sort of thing, participating in that, rewriting like a B plus into an A, that sort of thing. Okay. So yeah, there is that. I want to see you're out there. Okay. 70% of your total grade is writing. Okay. Or sorry, your written grades. Okay. Like I said, the reading is not really part of that. Okay. But the reading actually directly, but it does show up when you're not doing good work, I think. Okay. So within that 70%, how do things break down? Well, because these two count more, this is how it breaks down. 9.1% of your first assignment is of your right of your 70 is of your 70% of your 9.1% of your writing grade, which is 70% of your total grade. Is your first one, second one the same, third one, fourth one, the fifth one, and then see how it counts twice as much. The sixth one counts 18.2% of your writing grade. Okay. So these really matter. This is like more than what, 50% of your grade, these last 2 assignments of your writing grade. Major assignments, 36.4% of your writing grade. Okay. All right. So that's your rubric right there. Okay. All right. I hope everybody is following along. So I know this can go on for a while. Usually I give people a break at this point, but because we're doing this, you can always just stop your you can always stop your video and just like start watching again. Okay. But just try to watch these videos, I would say within the first day or two, or maybe first 2 days if you can, please. Okay. Because it really shows when you're like watching them at the last minute, stacking them up or whatever, or like, oh, I'll watch the last 3 weeks, but then you've already missed like 3 assignments and you're not doing it right. Okay. That people do that. Don't do that, please. Okay. All right. So what do we got here? So this is the syllabus, which actually kind of repeats a lot of what I've already said, but here it is anyway. Okay. This is my email. So it's ready for media, and this is the number. Okay. So updates will be published by 9 a.m., meaning videos. See exceptions below. Of course, this is the exception, one of them. And this, well, also another one will be spring break, of course. But it'll be published before 9 a.m. on Mondays. This will be published on Tuesday. So fundamentals of writing across all media platforms. By the end of this course, students will be able to write for many journalistic and media-based styles using basic and accepted techniques accepted by each discipline. Okay, so that means something along the lines of basically just like, not just like the old-fashioned what they call dead tree paper, that sort of thing, but writing for radio, writing for TV, writing for it's all different places and everything. You may think like it's a little bit different in its style, but it's actually really not. TV is a little bit faster paced. It's even faster than online journalism, that sort of thing. So, in the way they talk and they write, it's even more simplistic. Okay. Everything we talk about here is essentially there's a foundation for all those different platforms. Okay. Um, Writing for Media is an introductory level course for students in journalism and media studies program. This course is meant to build a journalism student skill set from the ground up. And the Associated Press, of course, is a wire service that kind of provides the basis, the language for like of journalism, like how things should be styled or worded, you know, that's the Associated Press style book. Things like again, the McDonald's quality. You want to have the same kind of writing, simplistic writing and terminology and that you read in New Jersey, that you read in France and or North Dakota or whatever. Okay. Oops. But very much a McDonald's quality, okay, I have to say, where basically like the burgers stay the same, wherever you go. All right. All right. Um, we don't do opinion writing in this class, okay, because that's actually hard. That's actually another level up. Because I have like three main tenets, okay? And that is accuracy, clarity, and focus. Okay, being really like focused on a topic and knowing exactly like what your story is specifically focused on. Okay, and being able to like since you have that focus and that sort of thing, be able to build on that and be able to have depth to it, like your story and answer all the questions that are left unanswered, that sort of thing. And of course, being accurate and being right. It's much more important to be right than first. Okay, so just really remember that. Okay, so accuracy, clarity, and focus. Okay, and so yeah. So anyway, but with opinion writing, you not only have to be accurate, clear, and focused, you have to be also persuasive. We don't get into that in this class. Try to be as objective as possible. There's other classes that deal with opinion writing, and you'll get into that. Okay. So again, like I told you about the book, 13th edition, of course, and of course the AP style book, which is available online, as is the textbook. Okay. Lectures, class students should be prepared to participate in, like discussion points and things like that. And again, all lectures they're posted on YouTube actually, but I give you the link. And the announcement section on Canvas by 9 a.m. every Monday, except for this first one, which is posted on Tuesday. Students' work will be evaluated basically. Well, it's not really 100 point. It's actually it is 100 because basically you have 30 and 70. Okay, but I actually give for the grades. Actually give just typical letter grades. Okay. Um, Assignments will be announced on Canvas only, really? Okay. I mean, I'll talk about them in these videos and that sort of thing too, of course, but reading assignments will not be graded directly, but assessed based on writing performance. Okay, as I've talked about before. 6, 7 assignments, there'll be 7. Don't worry about that. Okay, and then again, it'll be announced on Canvas. Okay, so total 100%, 70% for the key writing assignments, 30% for in-class participation. A rubric is available on the Canvas site, and basically I give you essentially like the different grades as I've talked about them before, which I'd really like to get to more specifically once you actually get the grades. And a rubric was available under the first week. Participation, students are expected to basically engage with me and that sort of thing. But not just that, but like I said, the discussion points is another way of doing it, getting, rewriting and that sort of thing. Here's a big one right here. That's not what we talked about in Canvas, okay? And I know you get like wiggle room maybe from your other classes and that sort of thing with late papers and stuff like that. Deadlines are an extremely important part of journalism, okay? Let me say that again. Deadlines are an extremely important part of journalism, okay? If you're, and I know it's better to be right than first, but you definitely still want to be first. And that speaks to the journalist's credibility if you're not able to produce something that's accurate and fast, okay? Great, if you got it's accurate, that's great. But if you're like losing out, if you're like a business wire service, like there's two big ones, Reuters and Bloomberg, you're working for Reuters and you're constantly losing out on business information, which breaks by the second, okay? Because of the stock market and that sort of thing. If you're constantly losing out to like Reuters, then like why would people read you? You won't appear high on a Google search, that sort of thing. So you can't be late, okay? You just can't be late. So what I do is I offer somewhat of a grace period, but I do give a time. Usually, like usually the assignments are due on Mondays at 11:59 p.m. Okay. If they're late, then they're well, they got a lower grade. Usually, I give as much as one whole grade lower. Okay. Obviously, if you have issues like a family emergency or whatever, like let me know, that sort of thing. But anyway, if you are late, I don't automatically like throw away your assignment. I offer like somewhat of a 24-hour grace period. Okay, so within the first 24 hours after the assignment is due, you can still submit it, but you'll be getting like at least a grade lower. Okay. Um, but if it's after that 24-hour period, it's an F. Okay. So you have to know that it's very important. Deadlines are extremely important part of journalism. Okay. Grade appeals, obviously, there's a way of doing that. I show how to do that here. I do the course assignment schedule, essentially, like this is actually something I just really repeat from the Canvas. basically like what you're doing in essentially each week. Plagiarism guidelines, and a big one that I left out here, actually, by the way, I do not accept AI work. Okay, I actually caught a few people last semester doing AI stuff, man. It's right here at the top of the syllabus right here. And it's also on the Canvas site. First order of business, I do not accept AI work. It is so obvious when the story is AI generated. It is so obvious. I mean, I don't mean to sound like I have a big ego here, and maybe I haven't caught a few people. I don't know. Maybe I haven't. I can't be. I'm not perfect, but I have caught at least like 5 people doing AI generated stuff. It's so. I mean, some of the assignments I give are like so specific. It's so obvious, and I've actually like tested it to see like how it would come out like on a chat GPT and that sort of thing. And it's just like, oh, it's so obvious when people were doing AI generated stuff. And I've made comment, and I haven't like thrown people out of class, that sort of thing. Of course, if it's done repeatedly, I might just do that, but that is a big violation if you do that. Okay. I want people to actually, I mean, I understand AI could like serve some purposes and that sort of thing. Maybe like researching for materials and stuff like that, but it does not take the place of actually interviewing somebody, okay, and actually doing the actual writing, okay? So no AI generated crap, okay? Absolutely not, okay? Just want to make sure here. Assignment, Microsoft, yeah, I'll be posting that first assignment by Monday. All right, so that's all I really have. And I enjoy talking to everybody. And hopefully it won't be like snowed in. We're supposed to getting some bad weather coming in. Again, communicate with me, write to me, let me know like that you're there, first order of business. And then of course we'll have that first assignment. It'll be due on Monday. Okay, again, ungraded assignment, a self profile, a third person profile on yourself, 5 paragraphs, that's it. Typically stories will be 500, 800 words, by the way. But this first one's just gonna be 5 paragraphs. Remember that I like paragraphs to be like a sentence or two long, that's it. So try to do that. Focus on what's unique and new about yourself. And remember to write like if your name was Tom Davis, you'd be like, Tom Davis is a blah blah blah. Davis said, that's third person. Okay. All right, I just want to kind of get an idea. And also it helps me like get an idea like how I should be teaching the class, like where everybody's skill sets are at this point. So a lot of people have already come into this class like already with some training. So all right. Well, thanks very much, everybody, and I will be talking to you.